Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 223, and today we're doing Battle in the Gauntlet. And so, before we dive in, if this is your first video of the day, if you're watching this as soon as it comes out, or even if you're catching it a little bit later in the week, we are right now in the time of the world's qualifier tournaments, and it's very important to give that a bit of support if you like the competitive scene to grow. And so, you don't have to watch it. I know that the content you get here is a little bit different than what you would be getting in the world's broadcast. They aren't going to be recommending you buy safety glasses or teaching you how to make deviled eggs or anything. But if you do want the competitive scene to continue to grow and stuff, you at least need to try and give that kind of thing a view. And so if you can turn it on as it's live, if you don't even want to watch it, just mute it, whatever, give it some views there. Or if you can go back and watch the VODs or turn on the VODs to give them some views on the back end or something, that would be great as well. It's just if you want to have the competitive scene grow, you have to do a little bit of work, a little bit of effort to show Riot that you care, show the community that you care, or at a bare minimum, just kind of push the view count up the ladder a little bit and maybe get some new eyeballs on the game. And so, with that out of the way, the way I always do these Gauntlet videos is I don't focus in on the individual decks themselves. We talk about our lineup a little bit and what we expect, and then I'll just touch in on some of the changes and oddities in the deck, as opposed to doing an in-depth guide. If you want to get in-depth on them, you can just scroll back in the channel a little bit, and we should have an individual guide on each of these decks. And so, as the current format stands, as the things I'm looking to do with this meta, I feel like everyone is focused on going tall, right? I feel like the attack patterns of all of the decks involve something like, hey, here's a Zoe with a 5/5 thing on it, or Zoe with a Scout, or if you move into Seraphine Victor, you have the big Victors, right? Or the more easily seen decks to where you have Vayne or Pantheon or whatever. There's just a lot of focus now on a singular big unit. And we're looking to attack that in two ways. We're looking to, instead of going height for height, if we're not going to have a tallness measuring contest, we're going to try and split it out a little bit differently and just go for width. So hopefully our opponent's attack patterns aren't really well tuned to what we're doing. And then we're just going to look to ban Vayne. I feel like our matchups with the decks we're bringing are good enough against the Seraphine stuff. I think this is a pretty good space to be bringing the aggro decks that we're bringing, and I still stand by Scouts being quite good in this format. And so, to bring up the decks, these have all been featured within the past week. Number one we're bringing is Ahri Bard. I think that the elusives are still in a pretty decent spot in this meta. The thing that really hurts decks like Ahri Bard is if your opponent is playing like Twisted Fate and Make It Rain and a bunch of AoE removal. And so as we're trying to get in that chip damage in the early game, if the opponent has the way to just get a bunch of 2-for-1s and shut that down, then you're not going to get far. But as our opponents are trying to hopefully align their removal spells with many morphs and vengeances or whatever just to deal with big stuff, our width here can push past and make some good attacks. And so, in terms of changes since our previous video, I wasn't really happy with the 3 copies of Vestayan Disciple. So we have cut 2 of those out. We've cut ourselves down to 1 copy, and then we added in a Shadow Assassin and a Will of Ionia. There we go. I knew I added in another bounce spell, but I couldn't quite find it. I was eyeballing the Homecoming and couldn't quite see it in there. But that's the idea with this one. The elusives are pretty decent here. You need to have good AoE removal to deal with this, and then we're not expecting too much of that. On to the next one, we are playing Scouts with the Quinn Misfortune. The idea with the Scouts and the things that makes me happy with it is a pretty good space to be playing both Make It Rain and Sharpsight. And so as you're playing against something like Zoe Teemo, if you're able to really hammer in on their smaller units, right? We can Make It Rain and hit Teemo, we can hit Zoe, we can hit the Flight, and then if we can, force in a good combat with a Sharpsight or something, force some of their units down with our challengers, make them play their 5 damage combat tricks on our turn instead of on the attack, we have a lot of decent play patterns there. This is a deck that does struggle against the likes of against the likes of Vayne, and that's who we're looking to ban today. then last but not least, we are playing Quinn. And so we could have looked to play a different Vayne deck, right? Vayne Quinn is the popular one. You could just play like Vayne Fiora or something like that if you wanted to. But with the Quinn pulled out of the Vayne deck, I wasn't really excited about playing any of those other matchups. All right, and last but not least, we're playing Ahri Swain. This is our pivot into pirates, as you would typically look at this as a Misfortune Swain deck, but if we're playing Misfortune and Scouts, we can't play Misfortune here, and so Ahri is a nice replacement. She's very aggressive, has a nice early game component to her, but then she also helps level up Swain with her Flame Shield attack thing, and so we're reasonably happy with the pirates. I mean, we can't even really call it pirates anymore. It doesn't even have a pirate card in it, but it's still technically pirates. That's never going to lose the distinction here as this Noxus Bilgewater aggro deck. But here, the only change that we made since the previous video, we took the heavy metal out. If we're looking to just ban Vayne, I don't want to be playing heavy metal. And then I added in the decimate. I suspect if we're going to be doing things like keeping up an opponent's Nora deck or keeping up the opponent's Seraphine Victor deck, I just like to have that little bit of reach that can go over the top of the opponent without being too combat focused. Okay, and so that is the decks. That's what we're bringing today. You all know what we have to do before the battles begin. We have to go and pay the pay-to-win price. And I thought this was a perfect explanation of the channel. We have not turned Deny Premium yet. The card coming out of Foundation's a staple of the format since the game's introduction. We've been making, I don't know, we like between 500 expedition videos and 200 battles with busts, like 700 videos of content. If we're turning a card premium pretty much every single video, that tells you exactly how much Ionia we play in these parts. But, you know, everybody gets their day in the sun. Everyone gets their time in the spotlight and Deny. You finally got it. You finally get to you finally get the prismatic and premium treatment. All right, Scouts, Swain and company. Let's head to battle. Man, we needed to get a skin in there. We had that Arcade Misfortune on the decks. We got the new Spirit Guardian Ahri out there, and then nothing in the Swain deck coming up to the forefront. Sad day for it. And okay, so we have a bit off meta lineup here today. The deck that kind of like immediately struck me as worrisome was this one in the middle, the Ash Tahm Kench. But I historically just talk trash about Tahm Kench all the time and how garbagey he is, and then typically lose to it. So we're going to keep that pattern here. We're going to leave that one up. I think I'm just going to come in and drop out the Udyr. Maybe, I don't know, this Braum thing sounds a little scary, I guess. That's tough. It's like when the off. I think like the way I should probably look at this is when the off meta choices come up, we just look to ban out the Shadow Isles deck. That tends to have the cards that give us the most problems. But I was kind of thinking of that in terms of, you know, there's probably like a lot of like width generation coming out of this thing, and I don't know. I couldn't decide if this is going to be a wide deck or a tall deck, and I just kind of landed on it being a big Udyr deck and not being too scared of that. All right, maybe we should be scared, though. We got a pretty terrible start. You're really looking to start off with pretty much any one drop, right? Ideally a Dancing Droplet, but something, you know. And having this Ahri only start with the 2 homecomings is a little bit awkward. See if you can do your thing, though, girl. Got a little bit of protection for her with the recall. I don't like feel super compelled to do it since we already have another Ahri in our hand. So we'll let that Quietus land. Save the recall for something a little bit better in the future. Bird. Esmith, close enough. Is hey, trying to call our shot here. We gotta get something going. Esmith helps a lot. Bird would have been a little bit more effective with the mana, but just got to get some of this unit boosting happening. All right, who's getting the stats? Probably a Conspirator, but no, it lands on Ahri. Okay. Well, I think you're just gonna have to do your best, girl. We can attack with Ahri and still just keep her around. Like, this is okay. Could look to recall her with the Novori Conspirator. She's gonna lose out on her +1/+1. I think that's fine as well. Let's get this rolling. I was kind of leaning towards, well, let's get our Esmith in hand and try and boost some of these other things, but the more I think on it, it's probably like the more that we need to just be dealing the damage. We're not going to ever get good blocks in here. And then if he does, like, start to try and play Udyrs and stuff on us, Homecoming is going to be fantastic in that sense. So, right, if he spends 5 mana on Udyr here, he does get the cheap stance swap, but getting to get to just the big tempo play in Homecoming is quite huge. I assume he's gonna play a stance. Wasn't expecting Ram stance, but that's okay. Doesn't actually kill anything. Now we can just wait for the combat, get a block on whoever the biggest dude is. Homecoming Udyr back to his home place. Only take 2. Return to your home place, Udyr. Back to the mountains for you, or wherever it is that you hang out. I'm curious if he's just going to try and go for another Ram stance and AoE down our little Esmuth. I mean, he's safe for the moment. Okay. Another Udyr that we just don't care about. Let's actually play Nopify. I don't suspect he's gonna... Well, I guess we could, like, Nopify a stance swap. Maybe that's enough reason to just go for the recall. Alright, so Ahri's not going to flip here, but I do want to do a couple things. We want her to have 4 attacks so she can survive Udyr. I want her to return the little Esmuth, just in case we run into a stance swap problem. And now we're coming in for some big attacks. I'm going to say he'll probably put a fairly weak block in front of Ahri, but she gets in for the damage. We get the 1 health unit back in hand. We should be pretty close to a lethal next turn. Big boy Conspirator out here. Watch this. Sorry, Udyr. it's just not the time for your expensive shenanigans. Okay. So this is Esmith. I'm getting confused by the droplet. I was like, I wanted to get the droplet and replay it for free and then use the Ahri ability to make that happen, but the combos were a little bit off there. This is okay, though. I just don't want to go into this next turn counting on Ahri to be the one to get the kill for us. Sucks to lose her here, but it's okay. If like you're counting on doing the big damage with Ahri and then they have a flash freeze or a frostbite of some sort, then it's a little scary in the sense that you're never going to get those big chain attacks. So Avalanche kind of okay. Sucks to lose out on the Esmuths, but these are not the cards I was anticipating coming in.
There's always a way out.
But we can still get the Mourned and the Droplet on board. Here comes the Nopify for this dumb thing. I figure we'll get a Nopify at some point. There it is. Now with only 1 mana, we should be safe. We're pretty far away from the lethal, right? We've only got 11 damage, but we're at least pretty well set up for if he tries to just go for another Udyr turn next turn. set up to a degree. Another AoE stance is a bit of a problem.
Hide for a moment, run forever.
How about another round?
Okay, I'm going to send the old droplet back. I don't care about Udyr sticking on the board at this point. We should just be winning the game on the next turn, but this does give us a lot of play around things like the stance swap. He probably needs to stance swap to kill the Navori Conspirator right about now. And so if we can play around that a little bit on board, same kind of deal here. Now, with the opponent at 2, I'm not going to play the Dancing Droplet. If we get to put the +1 stat on it from Esmuth, it gives us a lot of opportunity to crash in. Or if you can get 4 stats on it from Esmuth, that's pretty good as well.
I will mourn you.
All right, I suspect this will be like a Harsh Winds or something. He seems to have all of this weird collection of combat tricks, but hopefully we can fight through it with the Twin Disciplines into the Mourned. All right. Good job, Ahri Bard. The downfall of Udyr, seeing him return to hand so many times. All right. Udyr Part 2. So what do we got? We're going to mulligan for some 1-drops here. If you're not familiar with these aggro decks, you really want to be spending that first 6 mana of the game on your units. And so we're getting off to a good start with that here. In part number 2, if you don't know which one to play, just play the one that does the most damage. So Legion Rearguard can come in. I'm curious to see if what they're going to add to the board here. We should be able to safely play Annie, but I think if he's going to like try and quiet us this turn, I would rather him take down the Saboteur instead of Annie. Right, because now if he follows up with a... what do you think? Like that 2/2 stance swapper? Then we at least have a very protected Annie here. And Callista. I don't think we really care about Callista. Gonna get her with that double up, huh? Alright, so if he does block her with Annie, or block Annie with the Callista, he's still looking to take 8. It's a pretty good hit. Now, I think we want to just let the damage fall onto Callista, right? He does have answers to the double up, right? If we double up onto Callista and get to deal that 4 damage to face, we probably won the game. He did show us the both heal card, whatever it was called, the 3 mana Freylord heal dude, and then he's also shown us 3 sisters. So he does have a handful of answers to boost up this Callista, but if he comes in and drops Udyr here, I feel like we have a pretty good shot of just taking her down. I'm gonna say this is fairly close to just outright winning the game. He's completely tapped out at this point, so I'm very interested in killing the Callista. Come on, bud. You want to hang out? Oh, he's trying to run away. He seemed interested, and then he took off. Here we go. No, thank you. You can kill our 1-drops, I guess, but let's get that Callista out of here. All right. Well, 1 damage is needed. We gotta find a way to fit in this Nox and Fervor. Ooh, I have Nagakoboros. Perfect. Perfect, I tell you. Sure. Love seeing that vengeance come in. We'll go ahead and kill the dude. We're not going to Ravenous Flock anything better. If we get to protect our tentacle, it still gives us the sacrifice target for the Nox and Fervor. All the tools we need to try and take this one down. Laser beam that one. Uh-oh. Not cool, dude. Not cool. Well, we got to keep on trying. Keep on digging. Find our way out. Zap. Zap is interesting. Let's actually play. It's like we have a good chance of just picking up another Nox and Fervor, which is really close to lethal. If he adds more units to the board, it should be kind of tough for him to stop this Zap attack. And if he ever taps out, I mean, we should just outright win. All right, there it is. Now we can re-laser beam it. A lot of heal coming at us, though. That was a little scarier than anticipated. But you know what you're doing. Marking it a victory for Bust. Y'all want to see the cat? Did you want to see the kitty? Here he is. He says, "What up, world? What up, internet? I hate it when I get picked up like this." But all right, here comes the big full-on aggro lineup from opponent. I'm like a little bit worried about our Ahri Bard deck against this, but it kind of is what it is. I'm just going to ban the best one of them out in the Zoe deck, and then we'll see how we stack up against these other ones. Scouts tends to be quite strong against Annie Jin. It's a little bit weaker against the Katarina deck, and then the Elusives deck I don't really want to take against Annie Jin, and so I think at least from a mulligan perspective, that turned out pretty nice. Try to get rid of the sharp side, it comes right back. It says, "Nah, man, I'm too important today. I'm too important, I'm too good." Oh, we gotta get down, kitty. So, man, if you all want some tips, I love using this when the Thanksgiving time's coming up. I've already been asked by every Thanksgiving I have to go to, "Bust, are you doing deviled eggs again this year?" Absolutely I am. That's my thing. That's my jam. That's what I'm locked in on. I'm not dealing with the other family members' shitty recipes. We just have the good ones that we know that we're gonna have. And so the good one is the one that Bust cooks. But it's very important when you want to show up to these things that you're expected to bring something. And if you're going to be bringing something, you want it to be something that you actually want to eat. And that's where we kind of land in terms of getting the deviled eggs going. And so I'm locked in on them. I'm ready. I've bought 36. I'm ready to go. But I had another holiday event upcoming today. Didn't really want to cook anything. This is another thing that you can do. A little taste, a little hit from Bust. You can get the just get cheese and you cut it up, and then you get crackers. Done. Now you can't be like, you got to put it on a plate is where that kind of lands. You can't just take a block of cheese to your holiday event and say, "Hey, I got some crackers, here you go." You gotta put it on a plate. If you want to get a fancy dish, that's on you. Like when it comes to the deviled eggs, I've bought the holder. So I've got this thing. It's got like a 4x5 collection of ovals, and then you get to stick your eggs in them. I went out and I got the, if you're looking to decorate a cake, right? They make these like frosting gun kind of things. I got a frosting gun so that we can load up our deviled egg mixture into that. This is the very important stuff that you should be doing, and I'm glad I get to come through with the little bit of help for you there. All right, so back to this game. All that really matters here is preventing as much damage as we can. Now, we're not going to get a full prevent on... Maybe we do want to get the... I kind of like hanging on to the Broadwing. We're still going to get a good hook next turn onto one of these 1 health units, so let's keep him around. If it comes down to it with the Broadwing, we've still got the Sharp Sight in our hand to get a boost of health. But no, as you youngsters grow up, you gotta learn. You gotta learn to bring these things to the events. And I'm glad I can be here to tell you how to do it. But all right, dude's scared of our attack, not bringing anything in. Makes sense. I was hoping that he would play as Jhin. If we got a good hit onto Jhin there, that would have been quite strong. But now we're pretty reasonably well set up for a relentless pursuit. Okay, it's a stun onto Misfortune. She's never attacking anyways. Cithri is good here. You can still drop a like another stun unit, but I don't think we're ultimately too worried about that. Can't anymore. His attack should just be done. So I've also tried to branch out the deviled eggs. The secret into my recipe, if you're not familiar with deviled eggs, or if you're from Europe or something, I don't know if they have them over there. You all don't have like the true culinary delights that were invented in America. I'm pretty sure they were invented in America because we do we do everything better, right? That's the true American mindset. Everything that we do, we just do it better than everyone else. but no, if you haven't had the opportunity for there we go. If you haven't had the opportunity for deviled eggs because your country of choice doesn't have them, it's basically you hard boil eggs. You boil eggs until the insides are cooked, and then you take the yellow part out, and then you mix that with mayonnaise and mustard and vinegar and salt, and then you mix up that mixture, and then you dump that back into the egg, and you have a nice little treat. And my secret, I don't know if I've told you before, my secret, I use rice vinegar as the little bit of zing, the little bit of kick that you weren't expecting, just the special sauce coming right at you. So if you want to include that into your thing, you're more than welcome to. All right, but Ahri Bard up against Katarina. Wasn't quite expecting a deck switch here. They don't seem particularly interactive against what we're doing, and so interesting. Reasonable start here. If he has a Quietus, it kind of sucks, but if he doesn't have a Quietus, I feel pretty good about this. No blocks. Be kind of interesting to get the Navori Conspirator down. I don't think he has any units that we're scared of, right? The problem for this turn would be if he hits us with a Vile Feast. Maybe we should just drop in the Conspirator. Ahri's not that important here. Now it's like if he plays the 3-1, right? The 3-1 Fearsome Hallowed's a very common play here. Then we're kind of set up for it next turn where we can just take the damage from it and still block the host with the Conspirator. That all sounds reasonable to me. I'm curious if we're gonna get hit with a Ravenous Flock here. Like the Blade's Edge makes the attack with the Boisterous Host safe. I think we just have to take 5 here all the time. But he did have the Quietus. Let's just pass on it. All right, I'm curious if he gives up on the Blade's Edge. I wouldn't be like 100% surprised to see him just pass the turn back to us. It's not like super critical to Blade's Edge for one. It keeps us from playing Bird, but I think this is okay still. Foyer makes things a little awkward. But I think, where are we at? If we drop a Droplet, we can drop an Ahri after, and then still have a bunch of good attacks here.
Walk softly, strike quickly.
So if he like Vile Feasts to kill the bird and Ahri has to combat, I think that's still okay. Sure. So now he's empty boarded at this point. That's not bad. Losing the bird is a little bit unfortunate, but I'd rather lose bird than lose the dancing droplet.
What a strange, wonderful world.
But don't have great blocks after this. Alright, so Shadow Assassin's going to draw us a card. Put the Chime onto the Mourned. The Mourned can come in now if we want to open attack next turn. That's going to get us to 7, 8, 9, 10 damage. Get up to 12 with the Twin Disciplines. I wonder if he ever tries to block Ahri with Gwen, since that tends to be a little bit on the scary end of things. We are ready with a bit of interactivity here. Now we've got up to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14. Still short of lethal, but I think we want to get the Disciple on board. And I'm looking to just return the Dancing Droplet. We have protection here with Deny. Things seem to be kind of okay. Yeah, Ahri never flips here. We got the 2 recalls, right? The Mourned and the Disciple, but it's not going to be enough to flip Ahri. We're probably... Oh, shit, we do have... Count that wrong. 1, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12. Where's our extra point of damage? Oh, it's 2 hits from Ahri is the thing here. Okay. I was like, I was pretty sure we were not going to have enough damage. Oh, and he's not going to block? Don't do this stuff, guys. This is a super dangerous way to go about it. We have the Deny for this Blade Flurry. And now game says we're lethal. Okay. Cool. You got to get out here and block this stuff, right? You can't just die in this spot. If something goes wrong and you just outright lose the game, he could have gotten blocks in here, right? He could have thrown someone in front of Ahri, and that would have solved a lot of his problems. You just put that opulent Foyer token in front of her. That'll give you some of the protection you need. All right. GG, dude. I hope you learned about deviled eggs along the way. Learned how great America is. I love that. I love that speech. If you haven't seen the opening speech to The Newsroom, it's a TV show about the news on HBO. And the guy from Dumb and Dumber does a spectacular speech about how great America is right now in terms of being number one. And like, I forget what the terms were or how accurate it was. I'm pretty sure it was probably pretty accurate, but just basically number one in terms of things like incarcerated individuals. the things that you want to be number one in, like healthcare and education and the like, just way, way, way down low. But still number one. All right, so who are we looking to ban out here? I'm not like really worried about the Ezreal Seraphine deck with the lineup. This is the kind of space to where we probably need to just be banning Trundlemere. Trundlemere is kind of a nightmare matchup for Ahri Bard. And it's like it's slightly unfavored against scouts. It should be pretty even to positive against Swain, and then it's gonna be good against Ahri Bard. So I'm just gonna ban that one out. I think we're okay against the rest of this stuff with our lineup here. And so I'm gonna start things off with scouts. Jump on in. I guess one could say, if we're out here ranking things, if you've checked the rankings on ftpbust.com about the #1 player in the world, FTP Bust, I guess that's one way to come out and start thinking about some rankings. All right, I'm just gonna pass on the bird here. We're probably not attacking with it here on turn 2. Like, we could have the bird and then hit it with the bright steel and hope and dream that we can kill an action, but that doesn't come together too frequently. I think this is the spot just to play it slow, try and build up some stats with our Durandi Sculptors, and then build up into that big board that we were always hoping and dreaming we could have. This is just like a Cytheria board, right? We're not getting board control with these Fleet Feather trackers or anything. It's going to be all about Cytheria coming down and then boosting the team. All right, Zap, come on in. This would be a decent space for an Inspired Light, which we found. The question will be, do we want to do it now, or do we want to wait until we have a slightly bigger board? And I'm leaning towards slightly bigger board. We can cast it with Cytheria 2 turns from now. Interesting. Why did he stop and think on that so hard? Though you can't be playing Quicksand, right? Quicksand doesn't have the mana for. Otherwise, I'm not sure what that would have been. Interesting. All right, I'm going to drop a Mirai Warden. I was like, I suspect we're going to be blocking this turn, which is most certainly what's coming forward here. Then we're still going to follow up with the Petricite Broadwing and a Cytheria next turn. And so let's just put the damage on his dudes, right? We can do some of this. Follow up with Broadwing. Then next turn do the Cytheria Inspired Light. Have to worry a little bit about the likes of a Cultist Frostbite, whatever we're calling that these days, but it shouldn't work against our Broadwing. See if he's got a grappling hook now that he puts the token onto Varus. Deck has to just be playing the strike cards, right? The grappling hooks, I'm not entirely certain what comes out of the action Varus deck, but that's what would strike me as having all the Shurima strikes. Here comes something. There's a strike. Sure. So we don't have to worry about the Frostbite this turn anymore. Most definitely taking our shot at Varus. Probably rather just, if we make the trade with the Fleet Feather. If he has a combat trick, it's okay. And then punch in with the rest of our guys. Oh, I was like, why is he getting bonus attack? It's because It makes sense. He went for the health on it. All right. Not awesome for us. Probably just dead here. We didn't. We aren't playing any removal spells in our deck. We aren't playing the concerted strikes. We aren't playing fish fights or anything, and so don't have an answer to this Varus. He's probably going to be able to OTK us with him next turn. I mean, we'll still drop Cythria and see if her 6 health is enough to prevent, but not feeling too hot about it. This is traditionally the big problem of scouts. We just don't have a way to deal with these gigantic units, especially if he's going to be attacking multiple times. The Varus action deck here is kind of whatever, but the Varus and Pantheon are the more painful ones. But GG. Alright, Scouts into Ezreal Seraphine, the Bandle City edition. It's not bringing our Stony Suppressors today. It's a little sad, a little unfortunate, but still give it our best shot. Alright, so Broadwing and Misfortune look good. See if we can't find some other cheap stuff. Found the opposite of cheap stuff. Not quite as cheap as we were looking for. Oh god, it's the fucking Shell Folk deck. God, I hate this so much. Okay, that's what we're in for. I was like, why do people play Bandle City instead of something like Shadow Isles or Noxus, right? That would be the typical ways to take Seraphine. It's typically Shadow Isles with Victor and then Noxus with Ezreal, but it's this stupid deck I hate so much. That's what we get to deal with. Okay. It's the Shell Folk. Alright, we'll keep the board as empty as we can. We have the tools we need to beat this. Their interactivity isn't very good, and we've got both a Rally and a Cythria in hand. And so that should be the kind of things we need to come in and finish this one. But we'll see. Sure. It's tough when you have the Broadwing and the Durandi Sculptor with the ways to have enough damage to take Seraphine down, but being a little bit short of what you need. Maybe this is still okay. And I just want to get as much damage on the board as we can. We still have decent hooks this turn, right? We can hook kill the Conchologist. We have the other Broadwing into Seraphine. Punch in for a little bit of damage, so we should get to keep our board control, and then hopefully our big spells will be enough in the upcoming turns. Just, again, like we had in that previous game, as to where the big Varus is on board and then we just don't have any ways to kill him because we're not playing the concerted strikes or anything. That's what we have to worry about with this deck, is that we don't have those concerted strikes to kill a Shellfolk, and so when the Shellfolk comes down, we're just kind of at its mercy. All right, Quinn, let's see what you can do. And there's no real reason to hook in with Valor if we're just going to be following up with Cythria. We should still get in the scout attack with Quinn, but when Cythria comes down, the Valor is going to be protected. She tried to be protected. This is going to be Wallop off of the Conchologist. Gotta be kidding me if that's what's happening. Alright, so we do have the option. I mean, this is the way we should handle this, right? We just hook both of the units out of combat because then Cytherea gets to connect for the full damage. If he has a wallop or something now, it's just a little bit too late. High note's fine. We aren't really counting on Quinn here, we're counting on Cytherea. That makes things a little bit more awkward. So let's see, we can drop the navigator.
Every wave is a path.
Is he gonna have another removal? We could follow up with another unit here. We're just like 100% going to open attack next turn with Cytherea and all this damage on board.
All right, let's get to work.
Should be in a pretty decent space, especially with the 8 mana rally in our hand. You know, 4 mana was too low, 5 mana was too low, 6 mana was too low. Not taking the relentless pursuits away from us until they until they cost 8 mana. Alright, stress defense, not enough. What else do we got? Rummage. Okay. I love seeing decks like this pick up Call the Pack off their back alley bar. If these stupid cards. Like he's got something here. He's not giving up just yet. All right. Round 1. Market for bust. So who do we have left? He banned Swain, right? So we're gonna have the old elusives to take up against this. I think it feels like okay. A lot of this should come down to, well, I mean, they don't have things like Quietus, right? So I mean, our early game plays should be pretty safe. Gonna get garbage hands and it doesn't feel good, but seems like it shouldn't be the worst matchup in the world. Just really needed a bird or an Esmuth. That would have helped right from the start. Not the damage based removal doesn't play spectacularly against
For those who do not.
the health gains. Okay. Alright, gotta draw something. Esmuth, yay. Should we just, like, wait? I mean, he's not doing anything at the moment. Now if we get to just wait a hot second until we have some protective spells in hand. Would we rather gruesome theater out of this? I don't think we're going to get much usage out of the out of this otherwise. Save the twin disciplines for later. And if he wants to come in with mystic shots or something here, it's fine. Yep. All right, Bard. Well, we typically don't count on you to come down on the board, but the way this has gone, you're a necessity now, my dude. Just an absolutely brutal draw against this. We tried with Esmuth, but This is not the way you want these games to sequence. Like the big problem we're going to see against this is we do have cards like Deny and Notify, but they don't hit the things that matter. You can't stop pranks or anything with them. Just brutal draw. At least I think kind of our saving grace. We do have things like Homecoming to potentially interact with the Shellfolk with, but you don't really want to be Homecominging away Bard, right? You want to hit a one-cost unit so you're not getting so invested in the mana.
Easy does it. Oh dear. Time for a true display of skill.
Sure. Ezreal it is. Brutal. Feels appropriate that the card we would be drawing here would just be another 6-drop. I mean, why not? Why not? Just dumb as it gets. Yep. Why wouldn't that be the case in the game where we don't draw any cards, we just draw a bunch of bullshit the whole game? Why wouldn't the flashbang traps just land on our Bard? Oh my god. How close is he to flipping? He's too close to flip. Like, if we get the Bard going, it's too good. Right, he's about to flip. We have a Saiyan Thousand-Tailed. We're not going to be able to pull all this stuff off on our upcoming turn, but 2 turns from now, if we have Bard on board and play the Saiyan, we'll have like 100 stats on board. So, just let that go. Our major concern right now is this Ezreal, and we just don't currently have a way to stop him. There's the Ezreal flip. Oh. Didn't target. My bad. So, I mean, I don't know if we can survive this next turn. He doesn't have the Shellfolk on board. Once he gets the Shellfolk and can make a million pranks, that's where we start to really suffer. I mean, I guess we do have the opportunity to, instead of, say, Homecoming on the Shellfolk or onto the Ezreal, we could Shellfolk it, or we could Homecoming the back alley bar.
I'm so good, I surprised myself.
We'll just have to see what turns up next turn. Losing Esmuth, that's okay. Alright, let's see what awesomeness the next turn brings. Alright, so there's the Bard flip. We get to start putting all the sweet stats on our units on board. Let's see how far we can get.
Her songs just make you feel like you can do anything.
I mean, it's like I'd really like to be able to play both Deny and Homecoming this turn. I just don't think it's going to come together. I think we need to be sending back the Navori Conspirator, or sending back the back alley bar. But I was hoping he would get to the point to where he taps down below his Ezreal, and then we would get to send him back to hand and he wouldn't have him on board just yet. But it just feels like even if everything goes right here, that he's going to have too much mana. Right, we have to pick the bar. We can't let him just sit here and play pranks and shit for free. Yep. And see, like, this is just a matchup where denies just don't do anything. Brutal, just an absolutely savage draw though. He even gets to attack with Ezreal here. I mean, I guess we could have sent back Bard or something. That doesn't feel like a real winning play. All right, next turn. What you got for us? If we don't win the game this turn, we're dead. It's just the way of the world. I think we just have to go for the stats. I mean, we can drop Esmuth. That's an elusive. We could follow up with Shadow Assassin. So we at least have units on board now that we can get stats in hand and on board with. Deny just, you know, I guess we have to. This one's done. You're not going to win. Oh man, I hate having to play games through like that. It's like you're so close, but like we were realistically never in that one from the start. If that was a ladder game, I probably would have conceded that one on about turn 4. But just you really, without an early game start, when you don't play anything on turn 2, don't play anything on turn 3, and then your first play of the game is Bard, that game is not going right. I don't think that that's a bad matchup, but it's like we're just never winning it with that start, though. All right, on to the next one, though. We'll do the same thing here. We'll ban out the Trundlemere. We should still be reasonably strong against both the elusives and the... Excuse me, and the Elise deck, the red Gwen. These are all apparently quite popular lineups in the Lands of Worlds, with the red Gwen making a lot of headway into this event. All right, though. So let's see. We can hang on to the Conspirator and to Esmuth. I'd like to have another 1-drop, but we can't mulligan too hard here. Nice addition with the bird. But as you can imagine, as they are playing against the Ezreal deck in the previous game, getting starts like this, even if it goes right for them on their first turn, where he had the removal for our bird and kind of shuts down a bit of what we're doing, they just like do not interact with any of this well. It's just a super low roll of a game.
Come closer. I don't bite.
Nice. All right, reasonable combats coming at you. Noxus Blast is okay. I'd like to have our Ahri, but it's just a humongous investment from opponent here.
Hide for a moment, run forever. We break the silence.
So if we can completely empty out the board, that would be fine. I don't think he's going to be super excited about leaving this bird on the board, right? If you ask yourselves, like, well, what do we have coming up next turn to deal with this bird? We either keep it around because we want to attack and then get that Elise Spiderling, or we have to have a removal spell for it. And it's pretty tough for him to pull off all of that. And so I felt like that was pretty reasonable there.
No going back.
It feels like at this point we should have hit on a lot more in the way of...
Nature does not mourn. I will.
It's like, where have all of our tokens gone? It seems like we should have a little bit more than we do. Alright, my thing with this turn, I don't really want to have the Mourned in our hand, just losing out on all the stats. I'd like the stats to be going onto our Conspirators and onto our Esmuth, and so we could pull that guy back. That works all nice and well. We're wanting to get the Conspirator down. We can finish with the Mourned here. All right, Elusive's coming at you. Should be pretty safe. We got the bounce spell for next turn if we need it. We can probably see ourselves recalling away Katarina. The way I would suspect we lose this game is if he starts to get rallies, and Katarina would be the way for that. Does bring everybody in. I was going to say, like, I guess you probably have to do that. My concern here is getting hit with a Ravenous Flock. So where do we stand in terms of, like, lethaling him next turn? We've got 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 coming in. I don't think we can risk the Ravenous Flock. The thing is, if he wants to rally, though, he's going to have to play the Katarina. So we can play a unit now, and then he plays Katarina next turn, and we can add one card to the board and have a chance to get that extra damage in. Well, that's a lethal as it is, but I think this still stands. Right, that's 11 on board, 13 now. So let's see, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can still lethal through this. Oh no, we're one short. F. We should have recalled with that on the stack. We're going to be so slow now. He's going to get the rally out of Katarina. We punted that one. If we'd done this with the recall on the stack, we could have returned the Esmuth and then we would have had enough damage, right? Because he's going to tap out now to get this Katarina on board. That was dumb. That was dumb. One short. I can't believe we did that. Well, I can believe it. It's not it's not that much of a surprise. But boo. Okay, on to the next one. A little bit of a miscalculation. I thought that we had it without the recall. I think our strategy was right on point there, right? We knew that we were going to have the opportunity to play one card to get the lethal. It's just if we had recalled with that stun on the stack, then we could have played the Conspirator, returned an Esmuth, and then on the following turn, or on the following step, played the Conspirator. Or he would have played the Katarina, and then we would have had the lethal there. That was just sloppy. All right, fam. Gotta drop your Zoe or your Teemo. What are you gonna do? Bird. Okay. I'm a little worried about this one without having 1-drops in it, but let's see what we can do. You're a little late to the party there, Dancing Droplet. It's a little bit late. Now he's gonna surge past us. Lose out on all the opportunities for stats. Brutal day for the lands of Ahri Kennen. Brutal day. All right. So we don't have great ways to interact with this Teemo. We can still get like 3 attack on board, but I mean, I think this game's realistically just going to come down to us having something happen with the Saiyan Thousand-Tailed and a bunch of dudes on the board. So I mean, we can at least build up some width. That's not something that the opposing Elusives deck is usually used to. But let's see. We could potentially boost the Mourn with Esmuth, but the way that this goes south real fast is if he has like a combat trick here to... if he has like a +5/+5 to take this Conspirator down or something. I think we probably shouldn't be attacking here. Maybe we should just get a Droplet down and a Recall and then save our Recall defensively. But let's see, this is a problem now, right? I think we'll let it go through though. We can still like try and block the 1 health units next turn. God, he's doing what our deck does, just way better than we're doing it. Brutal. That's the difference in that turn 1 draw, though. So if you wanna know why Bard got nerfed, this game is it. If you can just imagine getting that bonus stat on the 2nd turn of the game without playing any cards, that is why Bard got nerfed. This attack looks very questionable, though. Well, he's going to have combat tricks is the problem.
What's another arrow?
Don't want any trouble.
Endless struggle.
All right. More birds. Jesus. Are we even able to get a Saiyan Thousand-Tailed play next turn? I mean, I think it's okay, right? We just have to make it a little bit more time, and then we can look to just like recall this out. Once we've like dealt with these stats on board, this deck doesn't have any reach, and so like if we get to go into the next turn and have both like Homecoming and Recall to shut down a lot of his stuff, I think we're okay. Especially now that we're adding in the Mourned. Just having a full board ready to block everything and we can refill next turn with the Saiyan. I think that's okay.
I will.
It'd actually be scarier, I think, if he had that 7/7 off of the Lodestone. Alright, so can we outright win any of these combats? That's good. I think we want to protect like the Shadow Assassin and the Dancing Droplet, right? So we can make blocks like these. Then we want to send Teemo back to hand, or do we want to send back the Sparklefly? Probably the Sparklefly.
It's too late for you.
Right, so we don't take any damage. We trade out some of his stuff. We get our good cards back. Esmuth gets to stay. I think that's good. And we still have a deny if he has some kind of shenanigan for us. Shenanigan-free living, please. Please and thank you. Oh my god, are we gonna die to puff caps this game? We've only got 3 in our hand, or in our deck.
Unseen, unheard.
And we're gonna let's be real, we're gonna absolutely boom them with the Unworthy Soul, right? Right. All right. Seems like things are going reasonable now. Can deal with all these Harazis, I guess. This would be a spot that'd be so much easier for us if these were homecomings and not just the targeted recalls.
Forgive me.
Okay, so we got the Saiyan for one of them. We played Dude for another one. We're gonna recall back a Dancing Droplet that can block, say, here. Then in terms of these other ones,
You cannot escape.
do we have to give up our Esmuths? Like, that's kind of a bummer. I guess they aren't really doing that much. Okay. It's just the sad day not having this Bard on board to soak up all of these stats, but one step at a time, I guess. We haven't got killed yet. He's gonna be able to get another big stack of elusives out here. The 4/4 Ahri. I wonder if we can get a kill with her. We have a lot of potential to get her a bunch of stats this round. I don't think this deck really plays any interactivity. And so if we look to Twin Disciplines Ahri, then we could get her up to 7 attack, take down all of these opposing 7/7s. Is it more important to just get stats on the board? Right, we can Nopify this, but I worry about just getting killed if we go for that. We can get a pretty full board. But, I mean, if we're going to play Bard and double Dancing Droplet, that's 6. It leaves us with 2. Or if we play Bard, Shadow Assassin, Droplet. Okay, I think it's fine.
Darkness hides in my path. The dark beckons.
So he's going to be able to connect with 1 unit if he open attacks. Is that enough? Feels like we're so close, so I think if we survive this turn, we should be okay. He has to be opening here, right? He's not going to be adding more units to the board.
It's too late for you.
6/9 Ahri, nice. Nice. Okay, okay. Not dying. That's how you get places, right? That's how you get places.
The Order rewards its faithful.
Shadow Assassin in. Dancing Droplet in. Do we want to go ahead and say, like, recall the Dancing Droplet? Why not? We're going to play the Saiyan next turn. We should just be drawing into spells at that point. Make sure. we got 2 puff caps. We can't die to puff caps here. Alright, then we can just win at this point, right? Nothing he has blocks Ahri well.
I will play my part.
We at least clear out his whole board, if not. So he can block like all the elusives, right? We should technically just be hitting for 16. Right? If we want to get the lethal after the blocks, we're going to have to Twin Disciplines Ahri up to 10 attack. But
Hide no longer. Fear not death.
we'll see. Look at that. It's always nice to see the units all come out here and die. All right. Good job, Ahri Bard. So you just got to stick around for a little bit. You just got to survive it for just a moment. You might be able to do it. You might be able to outlast 3 Harazi attacks and get the victory at the end. Okay, reasonable start though. We're gonna lead off with Annie on this board. It's like if he plays a Teemo or a Zoe, he's never blocking. If he plays the Flight, he's never blocking. If he plays a Bird, he is blocking. Bird is the one that he wants on the first turn. And Annie is the kind of guaranteed attack here that's going to survive this stuff. It's pretty interesting with this hand in that we have a realistic shot of flipping Annie with all these Saboteurs running around. All right, Argon Paul, let's see who just sends the most damage to the face the fastest. That's what this one's going to be, right? That's what this one's going to be. So do we want to drop the Mirai Warden? It gives us the chance to maybe hit something that interacts here. Not a really high percentage chance, but it does give us a shot. And then next turn, we can still play our 3 1-drops if that's what it comes down to. And so why not take the opportunity for a bit of a high roll off of the Warden? Why not, I tell you? Why not?
No one's the wiser.
Check this out, dude. Our board's going to be full. Check it. That's what you want your turn 3 board to look like, right? Just maximum dude. Alright, coming at you with maximum dude. He can put the owl in front of Annie to take her down. Looks like he's not going to go for it, but that could be the thing that carries us to victory here, right? If he throws the owl in front of Annie, the spell shield will eat the spell shield will eat the molten shield, and then she'll die. He'll actually get to keep his owl out of that. So looks like we're skirting danger just a little bit here with his bad blocks. All right, take him to 10. Still pretty scary. I mean, our board sucks, our hand sucks. He has 2 value units on the board with both the Bando Commando and then the the star chart in hand, and so definitely not really amped about how this is looking. I think we're going to need to Nox and Fervor right now. Just get as much prevention as we can. Definitely happy to see this Bandle Commando not doing anything. And then now, with that 6 damage, we're going to have a flipped Swain next turn. And so, I don't think this deck is super good at interacting with Swain. We saw in that previous game that he was playing Shield Vault. But without something like Shield Vault, then Swain's just going to murder his whole team.
Empire above all. The few.
Thanks for those +4s from Annie. +4 damage really helping the Swain come in. The Zoe in hand. Okay. We do get to flip our Annie here. She's at 5, so enjoy. We should have attacked with our other unit. That was a little sloppy. Right, if we want to play Tibbers next turn, like I just immediately thought, is like, well, if we attack with the Shell Shocker, he gets to block with Esmuth, and that's not ideal. But yeah, it was a little messy. Send that Paddle Star in. That's completely fine. If he's not adding units, that feels like a win. Zoe, you might get a Zoe flip this game. That's a little scary. Okay. More Leviathans. And so we're going to have a real decision next turn in that do we want to open attack with our Leviathan, or would we prefer to... Right, or sorry, do we want to play the Leviathan, kind of count on going into the next turn? Because then that puts us in a spot to where we can use the Leviathan plus Swain to get those stuns. I don't think we're going to have the time for that stuff. I'm just going to play the Eye here. Get an additional unit, and then see what we can do from there. Make It Rain is actually quite huge. If we take the 3 bank now, we can go into next turn, Make It Rain, right? This is going to put a damage on each of his units. The 1 damage to face is going to stun one of them because of our Swain. Then we should be able to add the Leviathan after that, and look to Ravenous Flock with the Swain that we draw. So we're not going to be able to kill one of these units with Swain, with the Ravenous Flock, right? The Esmuth has 5 health, but if he wants to, say, block our Swain with the Esmuth so that it doesn't do the AoE, then he's going to be a little bit too slow. Alright, a little scary, though, with the Sparklefly coming in. Passing out all those good abilities to all his friends. I think we're in a safer spot now. Lots of really good attacks, and again, that Ravenous Flock in hand. Oh, no. Alright, well, at least on this upcoming turn, we should get that triple stun from the Leviathan. Can we can still go for the kills. Right, we're gonna do 3 to the face with the Leviathan. He has to block something in front of Annie. I think we're okay here. Try and take this dum-dum off the board. So if he plays another unit, goes into the next turn, we should still be stunning his whole team. Was that danger? Now that we give him access to the Harazi? Maybe. Maybe it was. Maybe it was danger. But, I mean, we still have great stuff in hand. We have the Tibbers for a stun. We have the Eye of Nagakaboris if we need to card draw. Getting double Leviathan. You know, maybe not necessary, but it does have potential to draw that third Swain. Let's see what happens. It says, GG, Bust. You're the best in the world. All right. Good set of games, old Argon Paul. Good set of games. Grab victory by the skin of our teeth. Now, again, that probably shouldn't have won that one. We made that mistake of a block there in the middle, but got us into that final battle, though. All right, final battle. Been a decent set of opponents today. Got a lot of those Masters players coming up here. If you check at the top of the deck tracker, it'll tell you if they're in Masters or not. I think the last two, maybe the last three, were up here in the land of the Masters with us. Welcome. Welcome aboard. Welcome to the party. Loads of fun. All right, what do we got here? We got Deep, we got Lurkers, and we got what looks to be Pirates with Darius in it. And typically with these, like, I think Ahri Bard should just murder sea monsters, but it's going to both really struggle against Pirates and against Lurkers. But the sea monsters is quite good against Scouts, and it's okay to good against Pirates. And so I worry about that one a little bit, but I think our safer bet is probably just to come in and ban out Pirates. I think it's a deck that probably doesn't get enough respect these days. Interesting, he takes down the Ahri Bard. All right, we'll send in the Scouts. So Scouts, it's typically pretty good against Lurkers. It's pretty even against the sea monsters. Depends on how much drain and how much removal the sea monsters are bringing. Excuse me. And then the Pirates should be okay against both. All right, off to battle. So what do we got? Unacceptable. This hand will not do it. We need good combat-oriented early plays. And so the Fleet Feather Tracker start here, not ideal. This is not a very good start either. It's better than the previous hand, don't get me wrong, but it's not very good. Very susceptible to Vile Feast. It sucks a lot if he drops a Dreg Dredgers on the first turn. And it's like we just need an excessive amount of things to go right for a hand like this to work. This is not particularly aggressive. We have to just sit around and try and board stall. And that plays into their strengths quite well. What seems to be the positive for us here, though, is he doesn't have a Sea Scarab. If you have the Sea Scarab, you play it there 100% of the time. And so, surprised you didn't add the Thorny Toad as well, but... All right, we pick up the old Vanguard Sergeant. Somebody that can actually make an attack. Feels good, man. Feels good. All right, that seems a little preemptive. He lost a couple of good cards in there as well. He lost an Atrocity to close out the game with, and then the 3-attack Drain dude, 3-attack Lifesteal, whatever he's called. And so, glad to see both of those go away. Not worried whatsoever about this 1 damage from the Thorny Toad. And hopefully we can get some decent build-up now. We can add in the Island Navigator. Next turn, we would have to specifically draw 1 drop to make this Petricite Broadwing work, really well, but he can still come down. He can still attack as a 4-power dude once we drop the Inspired Light on him.
I will tend this garden.
Now a Maokai. Does make things a little awkward. So it's like we only get to pick 2, right? We get Inspired Light, Broadwing, or Make It Rain. I I don't think the Broadwing is it. It's like we just don't get enough out of it. We can add it to the board, but then opponent gets to kind of like pick and choose to play around it however they want. I suspect he's gonna play a unit here. Then we're going to get to make it rain, hopefully kill off the sapling, and then still be able to deal like 3 damage to some of these dudes. Interesting with the salvage though. His hand must just be very expensive. A bunch of Nautiluses and like Abyssal Eyes or something.
Defile the grove.
Alright, well, we're killing Maokai this turn. We're not going to let him sit around. I don't want him getting that interactivity if he gets to have the unit on the board. So we'll deal the 3 to Maokai with the Fleet Feather Tracker. We'll follow up here with the Make It Rain. And then hopefully Sithri is enough to close down the game on the following turn. I mean, if we like really wanted to, if the lookings were really good, next turn we could Petricide Broadwing into Relentless Pursuit. Just have to see what he drops. Like we have, probably be a short of damage by 1. We have 3, 6 with the Navigator, 10 with the Vanguard Sergeant, hooking out Rando Sea Monster with the Fleet Feather Tracker. Okay.
Been a long path to get here.
All right, well, I'm bringing the open. We have a rally in hand to get nasty with, and so let's bring in the almost lethal. We'll get to follow up with two more cards, and then Relentless Pursuit at the end. Ideally, he's just going to say like play a Vengeance here on Desithria, and we'll know that we're pretty safe in terms of ending the game. Scrap shot, yeah. He's deep though. Alright, dude on board. Alright, dude on board. He knows it's coming now. He said that Lucian card coming at me. Oh noes. Oh noes. Bust bringing the heat. GG. You all remember the days when you could play a Relentless Pursuit in the middle of combat and then just immediately attack right after? Y'all remember those days? Your opponent attacks you and you Relentless Pursuit in the middle of combat, win the attack, and then attack right back? Oh boy. But all right. Annie Swain ready to party. Let's see if we can't take down one of these 2 decks. Get ourselves the Prime Glory checkmark. Go into the annals of history. Not the annals of history. Filthy, you filthy mind. Get your toilet humor and toilet speak out of here. Whenever you all are at work and you have to write an email to an analyst, or if you're an analyst yourself, do you ever notice that the first 4 letters of analyst are anal? These are the things I think about. You sit here and you look at this old man boomer out here. You say, "Oh fuck, Bust is old as shit." And then he still thinks like a 4-year-old. Not a 4-year-old. That's advanced thinking for a 4-year-old. That's at least like 8 to 10-year-old territory right there. But all right, I'm going to go ahead and come in and throw down the block. We have all of these 1 health units that we want to attack with next turn. I'd like to just go ahead and get this thing off the board before he hits a Sea Scarab. I know we can play Sea Scarab next turn now, but we need to wear down the Thorny Toad. We don't have any ways to fight around it otherwise. So I'll take that block, that free combat granted to us. All right, healing it back up.
Let's
Let's go make some friends, Tibbers. All right, here comes the attack. He's going to block the Saboteur with old Thorny Toad here, but getting in a bit of chip damage. A little bit of that magic is happening. To get our Swain up to 5 or 3. Just 3? Dang, dude. Alright, incoming Zap. Glad to see the Slaughter Docs come in. That's kind of a do-nothing here. He's reasonably far off from deep. He's only 27 cards into his deck after the Dreg Dredgers. Leaves us in a pretty decent space. Oh, snap! Oh, snap. That Puff Cap hit just so fast. Alright, Swain it is. If he's going to play like an Abyssal Eye this turn or a 4/4 Sea Monster, whatever, it's not going to combat well with Swain. And then if he has like a Scrap Shot or something, we're in the same spot we're in without having to open, right? If we open attack and he has the Scrap Shot, then he gets to kind of pick and choose how his cards go on the board. Let's make him invest in Swain. He did not make a good investment. Okay. Seems like we're in pretty good shape. Pretty good shape. More stinky wumps from opponent. It sucks to have to draw this thing. I didn't realize he shuffled himself into the opposing deck. What a bummer to have to draw this guy. Your pesky Spectre on. Womp womp. We're good here. We can drop Zap, drop Mirai Warden. We'll have the 3 mana after that. We can Nox and Fervor or something. We don't have to. I mean, it's probably pretty reasonable to just say Ravenous Flock, this Thorny Toad. It's going to flip our Swain. And then next turn, we'll just have a bunch of mana for our burn spells. But let's see what turns up with Zap first before we add the Mirai Warden. If we pick up a Make It Rain, we might want to play that just as a tool to... What? Excuse me? Interesting.
You dare oppose Noxus?
I mean, if we can get the stuff off the board, that's great. I'm not sure what the angle is for, like, attacking into Swain. If this is just kind of like a spewy play or what the deal is. Let's just call all that back. He's not going to kill us with an atrocity next turn.
I've never met anyone like you.
Probably do want to get the Toad off the board, though, just so it can't block. Like, we don't need to be ultra clever with this next turn and try to flip Swain in the middle of combat, right? He can't block Swain as it is, and he's going to murder his team, and so I think it's okay just to leave him at home. Oh man, I didn't check in on the deep with the Sea Scarab flippings. You got a Slaughter Dock unit now too? Did we mess this up? You messed it up, not me. I never mess anything up. Well.
Let's do this.
Still send everybody in. We got 6 elusive coming at him. He's still got this Swain he needs to deal with. We can Nox and Fervor damage into something if we need to. I mean, I think this is all well and good. You could have made some argument to kind of like preemptively Nox and Fervor, since it gives you the chance to try and get the lethals, and it also stuns his back line, but I don't really want to give him an opportunity to play a Ruination. I know he cycled one away in that previous game. And so, good stuff, good stuff. Not a bad set of games. Victory was achieved for old FTP Bust. We got that check mark at the end, we got the Prime Glory. And so, interesting. Did we get a mark? I think we got a mark. I think it's a pretty reasonable lineup. I like the idea of what we're doing here. I still think Scouts is just a really good deck. It does run into some problems, with these Pantheon and Vayne style decks. If you want to tune to be strong against that, then you can look towards the Concerted Strike kind of cards. But the thought that I always had in mind with this kind of format is that you might see like Varus Pantheon come at you. That's the kind of like really popular go big, go tall deck. And you can probably just ban that. And you probably won't see like 3 tall deck lineups. I guess like to a degree you could be playing something like Zoe Timo. You could play Pantheon Varus and then the Vayne deck. I guess that would realistically be a pretty reasonable lineup. But I don't know to like what degree to really expect that to come at you. Like again, this is the only like real best of 3 practice we get. Hopefully we do get more tournament formats here in the upcoming future, but that would be the kind of downside lineup against playing Scouts. But outside of that, I think Scouts is really underrated and underappreciated right now, and it's quite strong. Otherwise, Ahri Bard held up strong today. It was reasonably good. Our loss with Ahri Bard was some of that like real low roll draws to where we were playing Ezreal Seraphine and it didn't come together that well, but I think it did fine other than that. And then Pirates. Everybody always forgets about Pirates. I think Pirates is still good. You would ideally be playing Misfortune in that Annie slot, but Annie works out reasonably well here. Again, she's pretty aggressive. She helps level up your Swain. There's nothing wrong with Annie there. She's an incredibly powerful champion. And so, it was good enough for us. Hopefully it'll be good enough for you. I had fun with this. I hope you did too. That is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way and had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.